everyone. Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started here. Alrighty. First off, we want to thank you all for taking time out of your day to join us for our live webinar on building an effective strategy for your social media content. My name is Corey Vanderveen, and I'm a social media strategist here at Envita.
I'm Will, and I'm also a social media strategist.
There will be a portion at the end for a question and answer, so make sure to save your questions until then. But first, a little bit about us. Envita is a full-service digital and social media agency specializing in multifamily. We've got clients from the West Coast to the East Coast and everywhere in between, so we're excited to walk through with you today how we strategize our content from month to month.
Perfect. So today we're going to learn a lot of different things. So we're going to learn how to build an effective strategy for your social media content through initial market research, social SEO, and performance analysis. So we're going to walk you through our process of creating content that's best geared towards your brand. And this is something Corey and I do day to day, so we're super excited to share it with you. And it's as easy as pie, so we'll get started with that. So the first thing that you got to do when you're making this pie or whatever you like to call it is you got to gather your ingredients. So you have to do your market research. So you want to know your brand really well. So how can you stand out? What do you have that your competitor may not have? And if you have the same thing, how can you spin it in a creative way that makes you stand out even more? A fun stat is that 45% of consumers, for 45% of consumers, social media is one of the first channels they go to in case they have questions or if they're just kind of wanting to get to know you. So that's the first place they go. So it's important that we really optimize our content. And again, you want to highlight those unique property features and neighborhood features. Maybe you're in close walking distance somewhere, or maybe you have a high walking score in general.
A great place to start with this is to reference your brand guide. Chances are you've done a lot of research already about who your ideal resident is and your competitors and what features you really want to promote. So refreshing yourself with a social media marketing guide or your brand guide is really helpful to make sure that you're displaying yourself across all platforms consistently. So just keeping in mind who your ideal resident is, topics consistency, branded hashtags, any fonts and branded colors, things like that. Will be really helpful for this step. So the second step in making a great dessert is to mix the ingredients together. And in this case, that's deciding your post topics. So Will and I and the rest of the strategists like to focus on 4 main post topics, and that's property features, neighborhood, lifestyle content, and residents. And like Will was mentioning about highlighting unique features, this is a great time to highlight unique features within each of these categories. So for example, for property, in this example we have to the far left, we could highlight luxurious living spaces or amazing views. For a neighborhood, we could highlight a high walk score of 98 and just demonstrate to our audience that you can get around everywhere easily. For lifestyle, you might want to highlight organization tips and tricks, and that way you can just give a good picture of what potential residents could live like if they live there. And then resident repost. So in this case, if you're pet friendly and someone posts a picture of a dog, you can ask them to reshare it, or you could share resident events just to showcase the kind of lifestyle that you're leading. Now, as we know, social media is always changing, so it's important to be adaptable with the times. And one thing that Will and I and the rest of our team have had to do is adapt to the content that we're promoting. So while amenities are being closed and we can't promote those, or you can't highlight coming in for an in-person tour, we've shifted to virtual touring and promoting that so that we can still get people looking at the property and wanting to eventually lease from you.
Yeah, and I just wanted to highlight some of the things that we've done. So we have active adult properties, and we know that this age group is more at risk. So they're really strict on what can and can't be done, or which amenities are not open. So we knew that because that community, they couldn't gather, and they usually have these big events, because that community couldn't gather in person, we wanted to make sure that we cultivated and created that culture and that community online. And so something that we did, if you look over to the left, we have this post. This is sent us by one of the teams. A resident decided to make masks, and it was apparent that this was something that we really wanted to highlight because it just showed how caring and how connected the community could be throughout this time. So if you look, there were we reached over 5,000 people. There are plenty of reactions, comments, and shares, and over 1,200 post clicks. So this was a really awesome way for us to highlight the team, as well as bring that community that is usually in person at those events online.
So in addition to deciding your post topics, you want to be strategic with where you're posting it. So whether that be your Facebook timeline, Facebook story, Instagram grid, or Instagram story, it's really important to decide where you want to put your content to get it in front of your audience. One thing that we've done before to create engagement and have people interacting with your profile longer is to post a Instagram grid post directing users to the Instagram story. So an example of this was for Valentine's Day for one of our clients. We posted a grid post that said, check out our stories to see some of our favorite neighborhood hotspots for date night. And then when users go to the story, they can look at some neighborhood spots that they could visit. And the cool part about this too is you can save those neighborhood hotspots to your highlights, and it can become evergreen content while being incorporated with a seasonal holiday. In addition to deciding your post topics and where you want to post it, you want to decide on whether or not it's going to be a still image or a video. Across the board, video has been performing better, and that is the same for stories. So according to a study by Social Insider, videos do better on stories. Images on stories had a tap through rate of 5.65%, which was actually higher than videos. So probably because, you know, videos are longer and you can stay engaged more, people want to stay on rather than tap through to the next slide. So just keeping that in mind when you're trying to decide if you want to post stories or videos is really helpful to know.
Awesome. So then the next step to building this great cake is that you're going to want to add the icing, the sprinkles, the little bits on top that really kind of send it over over the top. So this is social SEO for us. So when it comes to hashtags, you're going to want to include your branded hashtag in your Instagram bio so that users can go there easily and see exactly what you're about from the moment they get onto your page, your Instagram feed, and all that. It kind of keeps track of everything there as well. So some examples of these that we have on a few of our properties are Live Linea, and we have Kierland Crew, and then Picture Life at Portrait. So these are just three of the hashtags that we kind of have, and each property should have that really branded one that your users can use and promote. So we recommend using it in your Instagram stories as well. So even if you don't want it to be super apparent, and if you feel it might take away from that post or that story itself, you can hide it behind a sticker or just so that you're getting that brand exposure. And then we also want to encourage all of our followers to use the branded hashtag. So residents, when they post something, make sure that you ask them to use that hashtag, because if they do, then that's also just going to be easier for you to have content to share later. And it's also going to allow the potential resident, when they're looking at your page, to see, oh, I'm looking at this hashtag, I'm clicking on it, this looks like a really fun place to be, and I want to go there. So it's all in one place for them.
Another aspect of social SEO is cross promotion. So that's tagging other accounts for increased impressions. So one thing that we've recently done for some of our clients is posted an Instagram story that tagged local businesses like restaurants or fitness centers or boutiques that really just kind of showed that we were a part of the community and just also showed our audience the neighborhood and what was around us. And we found that this was actually really successful because, as you can see on the screenshot to the right, there was 171 impressions, 233 impressions, 171 accounts reached, and 97 actions taken from this story. So we've got replies, profile visits, and then 93 sticker taps. So that just means people are tapping on these stickers and interested in the businesses. The other beautiful thing about these Instagram stories is when you tag other businesses, they have the option to share it to their stories as well. And that in turn gets your brand in front of their audience. So it just helps with overall getting impressions and engagements for your own personal account. Another aspect of social SEO is geotags, and that's tagging the location. A study by Sprout Social said that Instagram posts receive 79% more engagement with geotags. So just being sure that when you're publishing an Instagram post, all your information is complete so that you're really getting in front of that audience that you want to be in front of. So the final step in baking any dessert or pie or cake is the taste test, and then in this case it's analyzing and reporting. So Instagram and Facebook both have great features that you can take a look at to see how your post performs. So looking at things like reach, reactions or likes, comments, shares, and impressions, all those things will help determine if your post and strategy was successful. This is an especially important step if you've tried something new for your in the previous month, and you can see once if your new idea did well or if there's anything you need to go in and change about it.
And then just to kind of wrap things up, we just really love this campaign, this positivity campaign for our active adult properties. So we posted this graphic to the right: smile more, worry less, dance freely, love always, be happy. So these are just things that are reminders of the positivity that can still be found in this time. And again, we saw this performed really well. So we worked closely with all the teams, and there are 650 engagements. We had over 7,000 people reached, a lot of post clicks, and 18 comments. And the fun thing about this, which you don't see on here, but most of the comments were amen and thank you. And everyone was just super excited that they were seeing this kind of content that, oh yeah, we still have something to look forward to. We still have something to be positive about. This community is still here. It's just moved on into a different medium for now. Awesome. So that was our little portion. So you can view this webinar, past webinars, and even sign up for the next one on our website. So next week, we're going to be talking about digital leasing, search and be found, an overview on PPC. And now we're going to open it up for questions. So if anyone has questions, feel free to throw it into the chat and we'll get started. Waiting on anyone's questions. If you have any, it's at the bottom. You see Q&A, or you can throw it in the chat, and we'll answer some. Oh, I see one here. So is there a template on how to put together a social media guide, or do you have any tips? Yeah, so I think us, Envita as a whole, we have our few things that we look for, but I think when it comes to this, some of the main things that you want to take away or that you want to include in there is definitely going to be, who are you trying to reach? So you're going to want to make sure that you do some research on who's the ideal resident, who are you seeing come in, who are you seeing be interested in that property, and how can you reach them? You're going to want to decide on what's around the area, what jobs are available, who might be coming in that area based on that career path. So we definitely have a couple of different ways that we do that. I don't know, Corey, if you had anything to add to that.
No, I think you got that exactly right.
Awesome.
We have another question here. How many hashtags do you recommend? So for us, we like to mention that Instagram is usually more hashtag friendly. And in Instagram, we like to include branded hashtags and any other hashtags that are applicable to the photos. So especially during this time right now, like things like work from home, hashtag WFH is good to include to get more traction. And then on Facebook, usually less than what you would put on Instagram, and just kind of limit that to maybe some of your branded hashtags that you want to make sure you're just displaying across all digital fronts.
Perfect. I see another one here. How many pieces of content per day is ideal to post to get more followers and engagement? So we've actually looked into this a lot. And this is a question I think we get a lot of the times. We never want to oversaturate the page. We don't want people to get tired of seeing the content or feel like overwhelmed. So typically what we recommend is that maybe like 2 to 3 posts a week. A stat here. So case studies show that Facebook pages experience a 75% drop in organic engagement per post if we post more than once per day. So try to avoid posting twice in a day. It's best to kind of spread it out, but we usually recommend maybe 2 to 3 posts per week.
Another question we got here is how far out do you plan and strategize content calendars? That's a really good question. We actually do it usually a month in advance. That way it can all be prepared to go out timely in a timely manner. This also allows for any last minute changes that need to take place if you absolutely have to. But normally we like to have everything ready to go a month in advance. So we are not falling behind on engagement or anything like that.
Okay, I see another one. What websites or softwares are helpful in organizing content calendars, such as pre-scheduling posts? Oh yeah, so we use Sprout right now, and Sprout Social is an awesome platform. It allows you to do a bunch of different things. That you can pull statistics as to like what's performing well, and you can go in there. We use an outside, process management kind of or project management tool that we'll go in and put our content in, kind of do all the management side out of that, and then when we put it into content or put it into Sprout, we can put it in there, then have the copywriters go in, um, put the caption in there, and then it can be approved. You can put stamps so that if you have someone who needs to approve it before it goes out, you can also do that. And you can schedule them as far in advance as you want, and can even do mass posts too. If you have a big campaign, you can post one post for multiple pages at one time. Yeah, it's a really awesome tool and kind of allows you, it's really adaptable. And yeah, it allows you to look at stats and everything. So we love that one. Awesome. We'll give a few more, like a minute or so for any more questions, but we're super excited that everyone's asking.
We have another question? Does anything come to mind when avoiding certain topics for social media? So for this one, it kind of comes down to your brand and what you are promoting, especially during our times right now. You want to be wary of maybe promoting amenity spaces if they aren't open, just to avoid maybe any negative kickback that might come back, as well as being fair housing friendly in the multifamily industry. So certain things like that are things that you might want to consider avoiding.
Yeah, there's another question. Is there a cost for Sprout? So I know Haley is on here and she could probably speak a little bit better to this, but I do know that there are different plan levels here. So depending on how, what kind of mass that you need for how many you're posting or how many clients you have, I know that there's different levels that you would pay for, and then the price varies from there, but it's all on their website, I believe, and you can go in and check that out too. And then let's do one more question I see.
Awesome. We have one more. How do you set up a geotag? Does that cost anything? So geotag for Instagram is just a feature that you would set up when you are going to publish a post. So after you've picked your picture, you've edited it, and you're moving into the caption portion of posting it, you would just make sure to look down and you can click your location. So it doesn't cost anything. It's just kind of like checking in on Facebook, but for Instagram.
Awesome. And then I will say one last thing. We can also email out free tools for scheduling too, just so that everyone can kind of be in the loop. But yeah, we're super excited that everyone joined, and there were some awesome questions. You're always free to reach out. We have, and again, we have another webinar coming up next Wednesday, digital leasing. It's going to be awesome. So we hope to see everyone there.
Thank you all for joining.